Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Let me introduce you today one of the best Kayle players in the world, whose nickname is KFO. He plays on Korean server and he is one of the best Kayle players over there. Right now we are on the website League of Graphs and we can see that this guy, in accordance with this website, he is in top 3 players in Korean server. He has 58% win rate with more than 100 games, and Kayle is his favorite champion. Of course, it's not possible, I think, to play only Kayle, to be one-trick pony Kayle and to be in Grandmaster or Challenger, because, you know, this is super hard. Kayle is weak early on and there are a lot of counter picks, so it would be just impossible to play only Kayle, and this is why this guy plays also Tryndamere and Jace. I suppose that he probably picks Jace in matchups when he doesn't know who is to be against him. And Jace is better blind pick than Kayle or Tryndamere, who have more counter picks. Both Kayle and Tryndamere have lots of counter picks. And we can also see that this guy was a challenger multiple times, season 7, 8, 9, and he was also challenger in the last split, and right now he's in Grandmaster with lots of LP. And today we are going to watch his game against Garen. So let's go. Kayle will be played on the red side of the map. Her opponent is Garen, as I said. It's probably one of the best matchups for her. Kayle prefers to play matchups without any dashes or other gap closers, so Garen, Singed or Mundo are really nice champions to play against as Kayle. And also we can see his runes. He is playing with Fleet Footwork. This rune will help him to keep the safe distance between him and Garen. But usually Kayle is also played with the rune Lethal Tempo and Press the Attack. Other runes are pretty standard, nothing special here. He is also he got Bone Platings and Unflinching. Unflinching is a good rune if you see a lot of crowd control there. For example, Garen has one type of crowd control, not very strong one, is Silence. They have also Xayah with Root, Alistar, but you know, Alistar throws your champion into the air and Tenacity cannot help against it. So I don't know, I would say it's doubtful to get Unflinching into this game, but hey, this guy, I'm sure he knows better what to get, which rune is better for Kayle. Distance is the most important thing when you play against Garen. Gladly, this Garen has no flash. He plays with Ghost and Teleport, and I think it makes this matchup for Kayle even easier. However, it would be hard for her to kill Garen 1v1, but it's never purpose of Kayle to get kills on the lane. The most important thing you should do is farm as many minions as you can to get more experience and gold. And experience is even more important than gold for Kayle. And Garen cannot stop her, cannot prevent her farm. His E pushes the waves into Kayle's tower, towards to her tower, so Kayle can just wait. There are more blue minions and Kayle just can wait under her tower and safely farm. However, some Garen players, they can do some different not comfortable stuff. They can push a wave and then they can go into Kayle's jungle and attack her jungler. It can be an attack 2 against 1, and I've seen this a lot of time before when I played Kayle against Garen. No, it looks like it's an easy matchup, but after all, Garen with his jungler, they can abuse your jungler in your jungle, and it's really hard to do something against it, because Kayle has no power early on. She can beat some champions at level 1, but after level 3, level 4, level 5, Kayle is weaker than other top lane champions, and this is why it's almost never possible to win 2v2 fight with junglers. And sometimes Garen players use it. They use it to abuse your jungler. Kayle has lots of wards. It's very important now to have wards, because she's far away from her tower. And when you stay around this area, it's usually the time when ganks happen. And right now Kayle uses her teleport to help ally champions. And first blood, okay. A teleport for first blood, not bad. But it actually looks like her allies could handle this situation without her. She loses one minion wave here though, and she has no teleport right now. Well, at least she's got first blood. It's not that bad. It would be much worse if Kayle would use teleport and she would not get any gold for it. No kills. So she just would have used teleport and would have lost one minion wave for nothing. It's actually surprised me that Garen didn't try to get one tower plate. And right now Kayle has tower tier 2 boots, which makes her game against Garen easier. She can really successfully kite him right now with help of the fleet footwork rune and by using her boots. She also has movement speed acceleration. And to avoid any mana problems, Kayle has chosen in this game the rune Presence of Mind. This rune is really helpful if you don't want to play with the start item Doran Serene. Then this rune is really helpful. And Kayle has chosen to play with Doran's Blade. It's easier to farm minions with this item, and also Kayle deals much more damage. Garen makes a mistake. He tries to recall, but too close to Kayle. Right now Kayle tries to prevent him from farming. She attacks him each time he comes close to minions. And right now Garen has less farm than Kayle. 62 to 55 minions. And Garen wants to do a recall, but once again he stays too close to Kayle. So she prevents him from doing recall. And if you do something like that right here, it's really important to have wards in this area. Because the enemy jungler can come at any time. And you should always watch the minimap. Like you kill one minion and then you watch minimap and you check where is enemy jungler. Right now we see that Nidalee is over here. And it looks like Kayle is going to buy Wit's End as her first complete item. She has no teleport, she used it a few minutes ago and this is why she has no choice but to lose some minions here. But cannon minion? Okay, nice. It's also a good idea to do a recall when you see that the next minion wave will be the minion wave with cannon minion. Because cannon minion can provide you more time under the tower. Cannon minion is more tanky and he can withstand more tower shots. So your champion has more time to move back to his tower without losing so much gold and experience. Garen has bought tier 2 boots as well, but right now Kayle has Hearthbound Axe, and this item also gives her 10 points of additional movement speed for 2 seconds, and this item is also very useful against Garen to kite him, and since there are a jungler with magical type of damage, buying N0Т is also a smart choice. However, some Kayle players don't buy N0Т if there are only one champion with magical type of damage. Because if you want Kayle to have more damage, it's better to buy like Nashor's Tooth, Riftmaker and Rabadon's Death Cap. With those 3 items, Kayle is a dead machine. But there is Nidalee. Nidalee has a high burst damage, especially if she gets few kills. So maybe N0Т is really helpful here. Now we see that Kayle is playing really aggressively. She doesn't allow Garen to come closer to minions. And you also want to hit Garen to prevent his passive from regeneration. Whoa, 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 this was really close. Nice flash, but Garen was lucky here. It was not enough damage to send him to the fountain. Actually, the only way Garen can kill Kayle is when he plays with Flash and probably with Ignite. I remember the only way for Garen to kill Kayle is when he uses his combination Flash plus Ignite plus his Q, E, and when he sees that his blind is going to finish, to end, then he uses his ult before the blind ends, so Kayle would not be able to protect herself by her R, by her ultimate. And this is really powerful, since Garen sometimes buy attack damage items like Phase Rush. So he has enough damage to one-shot Kayle during this period when Kayle is blind and she is not able to protect her by her ult. And this is the only case. Maybe sometimes when Garen stays in bushes, he can also set a trap for Kayle, but usually he's never a threat, especially if Kayle has enough movement speed. Garen is not a problem for her. And I also can recommend for you to pick Kayle if you get to higher elos. Well, I think if you get to higher elos, you would not need my advices at all. However, in low elos you can play Kayle into any champion, but the higher you get, the harder it's going to be for you to play Kayle. Oh, this was a strange Q. This was kind of a strange Radiant Blast. I think it was a misclick. So right now Kayle needs level 11 for her next major power spike, when she will have waves. So after Kayle has waves, she can clean minion waves really fast. She can also clean her jungle. And usually Kayle can have the biggest amount of minions killed, the best creep score. Her team is also doing well, and this is very important. Sometimes when your team is doing well, it's just great, but by doing great, I mean not winning the game, but at least not losing it, not feeding enemies. And even if the enemy team has a little bit more kills than your one, it's still not a problem for Kayle, because Kayle is an outscaling monster. All she needs is to live long enough, to the game to last long enough for Kayle to get level 16 and at least 3 items plus tier 2 boots. Well, I think Kayle can destroy this tower. However, there are no wards in this area, so maybe that's why Kayle has decided to move back. She bought the Codex. Well, personally, I would stay here. I would have got this minion wave and then destroyed the tower, because Garen was on low HP. He was forced to do a recall, otherwise he would just be killed under his tower. And the only threat for Kayle was that the river was without any wards, so it could have happened a gank. But right now Kayle is level 11 and she can fight even Nidalee, I suppose. Oh, but this is dangerous, lots of enemies. Garen has slowed her down by using Stride Breaker. Uh-oh, and she's surrounded. Will she survive? I don't think so. Well, but at least maybe she can kill Xayah. Yep. Maybe she can kill also Garen. Nice, double kill by Kayle. Well, this is not bad. To lose one champion and get 2 enemies champions. And guys, by the way, there is Bel'Veth support in the red team. I have never seen this before in my life. Bel'Veth as a support. I just don't get it, but oh, it's Korean server, anything can happen there. Except maybe Yuumi jungle, but I'm not sure. Okay, Kayle is here. She used her teleport to help her allies to get Rift Herald. She gets another kill. And right now there are no dragons, no Rift Herald. This is the time when Kayle can farm a little bit. Now she and Poppy are going to kill Nidalee. Poppy used her ult to move Garen away. But there are more enemies. Tristana is here, Xayah is also here. Garen has winched Moonplate, and his movement speed right now 411. Well, Kayle is faster anyway, especially when she uses her movement speed acceleration. But Garen also has his Q. It's very important to not come too close to Garen, because he can slow Kayle down by using Stride Breaker. Okay, and the next dragon is about to appear quite soon, in 40 seconds. So this is the time for Kayle to... She can either stay here and protect tower against Garen, but Garen can use his teleport. Kayle's teleport is on cooldown right now, so there is a possible situation that Garen can make a pressure over here on the top lane, but then he can use his teleport, and Kayle would not be able to fly by teleport to help her allies, so it can be a situation 5 against 4. But as we see, Garen doesn't want to stay on the top lane. Kayle has saved N0Т. Nice. And right now she has to stay behind Poppy and Kayle. Oh, this was Akali's mistake. She has flight into 4 enemy champions. Well, it was Akali's mistake, and as Kayle, you should always think when a potential team fight will happen, who are the champions that worth of using your R. For example, in this game, I think it's Kayle and especially N0Т. N0Т can deal lots of damage there, and this is a good choice to use Kayle's ult to save N0Т, to make her fight longer. Maybe Kayle would also be a nice target to save, but this Kayle is not doing well. She has low amount of minions killed. She also has no kills. This is why Kayle has almost no items, and her damage is low right now. So in this team, in this case, I would use my ult as a Kayle player only for N0Т or for myself. Especially when your Kayle has level 16 or higher, usually it's better to keep your ult for yourself. But there are always exceptions. Right now Kayle has her teleport available, and she stays closer to her team. She probably thinks that they are going to fight for Baron. But the fight didn't happen. They just warded the Baron instead, and Kayle moves to the bottom lane to get some experience here. Because for Kayle it's not good right now. Kayle needs level 16 as fast as possible, and when she stays all the time with her allies on the mid or the top lane, she shares her experience, and this is bad for Kayle. Right now she sees that enemies has started Baron. She used teleport before, and once again she is surrounded by enemies. She tries to escape, ult. Now she moves to the wall, nice flash. And the fight has started. Kayle was slowed down by Garen, and it looks like they're going... Yeah, They're going to kill her. And this was a good fight for the blue team. They're chasing Belveth, and I think afterwards they're going to get Baron. Or they did it, they already done it. Okay. Well, so now this is bad for Kayle. Actually don't get it, why the hell did they pick Belveth as a support? And she also has 6 kills. Just imagine this game if instead of Belveth, that Nilah would have 11 kills. She would be a monster, especially with Kayle's ult. I think it would be much better for this game to get a tanky support like Nautilus or Leona. It would be much better, because Kayle needs a good frontline for her. Of course, there are Poppy, it's good to have at least one tank. But I think it would be better to have another tank. I just don't get it. Why they have Nilah as a support? It looks like a troll pick to me, to be honest. And Kayle still needs 2 more levels to get level 16. You know, this is disadvantage of this champion. You rely too much on your team. Your team should be doing well, at least until you get level 16. Because before level 11, Kayle is super weak and it feels like your team is playing 4 against 5. After level 11, it likes 5 against 5, and after level 16, it's like 6 against 5. So Kayle can be count as two champions, right? But there are also exceptions. For example, if the enemy team has hard crowd control, lots of stuns, they can just destroy Kayle before she is able to use any ult on herself. Because you know, yes, that Kayle cannot ult herself or her allies when she is crowd control, and this is why she needs a strong front line. So front line would get any stuns, fears, charms, or other sort of crowd control. But even if you don't have any tanks in your team, it's still better to stay behind even squishy allies. It's better to stay behind your AD carry, because you know, if your AD carry gets crowd control, you still can use her Kayle's ult to save him. But if Kayle is under heavy control, like a stun, she cannot save herself by using her ult. She's just not able to activate it. So right position in a team fight is very important for Kayle, and we see here that Kayle positions herself really well. The only way the enemy team was able to kill Kayle in this game is when Kayle was surrounded by enemies. Now Kayle has her 3 items power spike, but she still needs 1 level more. She needs level 16. And the enemy team is going to do everything to finish the game faster than Kayle gets 16. Especially because they can. I think it would be really better to change Poppy and Belveth. It would be better for Belveth to be a jungler and for Poppy to be a support. And now it looks like the fight has started and it could be the last one. Poppy is dead, so there is no good front line. Kayle is trying to protect her by using her ult, but she has not enough damage to fight back enemies. And it looks like she deals almost no damage to Alistar and Garen whatsoever. And it looks like they can just ignore some Kayle's and her allies' auto attacks. Their abilities, Garen is a strong wall. They have also nice damage. Kayle needs to restore her health. She killed few more champions, but it's not possible to stop the enemy team. Well, Kayle played well. I think we can use this game as an example how to play against Garen at least. But as you see, even if you are one of the best Kayle players in the world, and if your team is playing poorly, there is nothing actually you can do. And yeah, Kayle is a strong champion in a late game, but right now we see that it was not enough time for Kayle to get level 16, despite it's almost it was almost 13th minute, but Kayle was still level 15, and she had not enough time. She had not enough experience, minion experience, to get level 16. However, it's strange. She has killed almost 250 minions, and she has 8 kills, but it was still enough to wasn't still enough to get level 16. I think that Kayle needs to be able to get level 16 at least at minute and 25th or 26th minute, because it's, you know, it's the time when most the games in League of Legends are decided. However, I think Kayle played well. Maybe I will try to find another interesting game by this player or another one who also plays Kayle really well, because, you know, I know it's not so good to see a defeat as an example game, right? So maybe I will find another game later on, maybe against harder champion, harder matchup. And right now, I thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to not lose the channel in the future. I will try to make more videos about Kayle and about other champions as well. You can write me down what champions you play, except of Kayle. Maybe you have other champions you like to play. For example, I like Nasus and N0Т. So you can write down what other game you would like to watch. And thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to press like, and see you in next videos. Bye bye.